That's it. Oh, wait, where's the mute? Are you on? Is your
There's
microphone
this
on?
one YouTuber I follow, and she holds her mic up like this, like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey, hey,
Well, I
hey.
had said we want to get necklaces. Put the microphone, plug it in around the necklace, and then you just. Tito me pregunta. Okay.
Okay, if you want to see the live version of that, Jason doing that song, hit up a Nightbrary.
That's
Okay,
right.
any Wednesday night this whole semester. Okay, welcome to our Seminole State family. It's Nicole from the library. I am joined by.
Oh, that's me.
That's
I'm
you.
Librarian Ross Murray. I am one of your librarians.
Yes.
And
Information Jason, I am another one of your librarians.
and today we are doing MISFIT databases. We're thinking outside the library a little bit, talking about some databases that are not like the technical, official, super official library databases, like where you have to log in with the single sign-on. The databases with the single sign-on, you cannot access after you are graduated and moving on with your life after Seminole State. So the thing about the databases, the MISFITs we're talking about today, is they're ones that you can get into even after you graduate. You don't need to sign in. So all right, Ross, we got your screen share up here.
Very good. Yeah. So what Nicole just said is really important. You have all these amazing databases, which let's start at the top. Like a database, all it really does is collect information and help us organize it into searchable systems that, maybe it's grouped by source type or subject or something like that, right? And if you've done any research for like an English 1 class or a speech class, you've probably seen all of these databases that we have through the library. I'm just on our library page here. And if we were to look at all these different databases, we have 137. That's really good. If someday you transfer to a university, they're going to have 3, 4, 5 times as many databases that you'll have access to. And they're really, really powerful things. As long as you're enrolled in a college or affiliated with a college somehow. Because this stuff does go away once you're not enrolled. Like this stuff costs thousands upon thousands of dollars to have an individual account. And sometimes people need those. I have a friend who works at he worked at a law library, and he used to tell me about how like lawyers would pay $50 for an article easily because they needed it to help make their case, right? But as a student, you never have to pay for research. But when you go into your professional worlds, like you're still going to have to find evidence, right? So what I thought would be kind of cool today is to talk about some of these databases that you will have access to when you're not a college student anymore. So where I like to start is this tool right here called Google Scholar. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before, but if you haven't, it's a really amazing thing. What it does is it takes millions of these citations to articles from universities, and it tries to find free versions of them online somewhere. Now, to find Google Scholar, if you go to Google and you search Google Scholar, Google will not allow you to find something else. It's always
not allowed.
You're
not allowed.
What do you mean we're not allowed to find you?
Google's not going to let something else turn up before Google Scholar. So you'll always find it if you're just searching Google.
Okay.
But that's going to get us here. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with Google Scholar. One of my favorite parts about this tool is that you can just talk in normal Google language. You don't have to know any special vocabulary. You don't have to have any special formatting here. You can just run a search. I did something for puppies and kittens.
Aww.
Right? And
sad.
It found 17,000 articles that have something to do with this, right? But not all of them are going to be freely available. That's one of the trade-offs here with this database, is that what it's doing is it's trying to find free versions of those articles somewhere. And you'll notice a lot of these articles have just a blank white space in this right-hand column, which means it couldn't find a version of it that we can freely access. I mean, it probably found it, and it probably wants you to pay $30 or $40 for the article. But you'll also notice over here that lots of these have links in the right-hand column. And anytime you see one of these file types here, what that tells me is that Google found that article somewhere. It found it on maybe some, maybe it's even a personal web page or some, organization's page. Somewhere it found this article. And if I was to click on that, it would take me to a perfectly good, academic research article. So you always want to verify with your professor if you can use these kinds of sources, but I work with tons of professors who encourage their students to use these sources. So they work just like you would find anything else from our databases. There are some trade-offs. They don't always work the same way. You know, I mean, sometimes they have cite buttons that will help you cite the source. Sometimes they don't. All that kind of stuff there. But conceptually here, like we're dealing with the same articles that we might find through our library search there. And backing up a step here, when you find this, Google will also help you cite those sources. Every one of these articles has a, maybe I'll even make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Every one has a cite button here, which when you click that cite button, it's going to show you a pretty good example of a citation. Not perfect always, but pretty good, right? So there's
It'll have all the ingredients, right?
Yeah.
You have all the ingredients in there.
It usually helps you identify all of the pieces, at least there. So that's a really helpful thing. I love Google Scholar for that in itself.
We keep being called by the same person. We're busy. Yeah. We're live on the air.
Wait, what? Someone calling?
I'm getting a phone call right now. But so that's one way we can use Google Scholar, and it's amazing in that way. You can find research that you'll never see anywhere else strictly from this tool. But remember, a lot of it won't be available. Now, there's something else we can do with Google Scholar that's really magical. So in your Google Scholar settings, what you can do is in this little hamburger menu, if you go down to your settings, there's this option to connect this with the library. In this library links category here, you can put in the name of any college or library that you're affiliated with, and you'll be able to connect this with that school's databases, right? So I've already done Seminole State College in here, but let's say I had UCF access. I could put that in here, and it would help me connect with all of these different tools through UCF. And when I save that, now when I find articles, it's going to tell me over here, when it says full text, now Google knows that somewhere in our databases, we should have access to that article. So if I click on this,
that's if you're still a Seminole State student. Like
correct.
That's not the post Seminole State. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. For right now, this would work for you. Nicole is absolutely right, though. This is only as long as you have access to that library content. But now it took me back to our library search system, and it tells me here, oh, these are different databases we can access that have this article. So that's really cool. I use that all the time, and sometimes I'll even work backwards while I'm doing my college research here. Like, if I'm not sure where to start, I'll let Google kind of tell me where to start on that. There. Now, jumping back really quickly to these databases that we have here in the library, we also have a link to Google Scholar from here. If you were to just look through the G category, this Google Scholar link is going to take you to the same page that we were just on. But the difference is if you use that link, it is already connected with our databases. So you don't even have to go through that extra step. If you just stick with that link, bookmark it or something, it will already be connected with Seminole State's resources. So that might save you a little bit of time and effort right now. But going back to that big point that Nicole made at the start here, like what we're doing is looking at this database as something that you can use into the future. You'll be able to use this anytime for personal research, for professional research. It's a really, really handy tool that way. So I don't know if anybody had anything else they wanted to add about this tool, but I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I would just look at some of the dates. Go ahead and pull the thing you have again at 97. You can make the filters on the left. You can start narrowing it down. And you can also take a look and see how many different sites there are. So the top one is cited by 88 and by 44. Right. I like to think of those kind of like Instagram likes. You see a real fire picture that's got 1 billion likes on it. I might do that one. You find one that's
got some likes.
Yeah, cited by like one person.
Yeah, this one right here says it's cited by 4. It is only a year old, so that's not shocking to me. But like to Jason's point, if I see something that's been cited a lot of times, I have to imagine it has some value to research. If other people found the value in it.
Yeah. Hey Ross and Jason, I know Ross, you put your example was puppies, kittens, and but if someone, and by the way, if anyone is doing a paper on puppies and kittens, I want to meet you. Okay.
There it is.
But someone could put in a sentence here, right? It's not like, how sometimes we talk about the databases or the search engines, certain ones you have to like be selective about your keywords. You can't put in a sentence, but here we could. Google Scholar, we could. And that feels good, right? Because that's what we're used to. We use Google for personal uses, right?
Yeah, and it works just like Google in the sense that it'll help you identify like synonyms, when you search, and did you mean if you spell something a little incorrectly, that kind of stuff there. But yeah, I mean, that's like my first thought whenever I think of one of these MISFIT databases. It's not quite a research database in the traditional sense, but it is really. It's doing the exact same thing that all of those tools that we have through the library are doing too.
Okay, so that's MISFIT database number 1. Let's hop on to the next one. What do we got? What's our next one? Oh, we're doing PubMed, which we kind of already looked at from one of the results that was just there, serendipitously.
Yeah, that one actually came up as one of our search results.
Let's do puppies and kittens in this one.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this is the National Library of Medicine. This is supposed to be, to my understanding, human medicine. But let's just take a look.
Let's see. What this does is it's going to search through this huge archive from the National Library of Medicine, and it pulls from all these different agencies and publications within those agencies in the government.
I think that's the first one that came up because I saw the colostrum. So that might be the.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was like thinking, is this why this one is a MISFIT database? Because it's mainly like government collections, so it's like not
right. Yeah,
so that's gov, right.
Okay.
Yeah, it does pull from government publications, medical publications. They work with some of these other medical organizations that aren't necessarily government ones. But another thing that you'll see in here is like anything that receives government funding, like they have to make their research available through this for medical science stuff. But not everything in here is free to read. I mean, you can click over here and see the free full text. That's what I'm interested in when I'm looking here. And it'll show me, but a lot of the stuff in here is just going to be the citations to these tools. But then maybe if you have access through a public library or something, we could track them down still, or maybe interlibrary loan them. But it is a fantastic way to get a bunch of free articles through this tool that you would ordinarily have to pay for, just like any other scholarly journals that we saw. But it works very similar to any other database. You have all of these ways to limit your search. I mean, if I was really doing health science research, I might know what a systematic review is, and clinical trials and things there's a lot of ways to shape your search. And more importantly, maybe especially if you're dealing with health science research, you probably don't want things from 20 years ago. I mean, they've probably been outdated and superseded. So we can say, just show me the stuff from the last few years and whittle it down that way.
And on that note too, Ross, you could take that old information and say that's how it used to be, and now we've advanced thanks to science here. And another thing to point out here, I'm starting to see a lot of my DOIs, right? My DOI, my digital object identifiers, and that's a clear indication. And then I also see multiple authors for a lot of this, and it's a government website. So these are all my criteria for evaluation, and this is all starting to look really, really, really good. And there's a lot of interesting information on here about puppies and kittens, which is what we put in there. Who knew?
Now, how would a student, if they graduate from Seminole State and they still want to get to PubMed, how would they find PubMed?
Well, I mean, again, you could always Google PubMed, and it's probably going to be the very first thing.
PubMed. Okay.
PubMed. Now, there is another thing called PubMed Central, but don't worry about that because PubMed Central is part of PubMed. They're all lumped together, but that's why I thought I might see that, and I did. So there's like PubMed, and then there's this other one down there, but they're both kind of the same thing.
And we have it listed too as a database under our databases.
Absolutely. I forgot about that. So as a student now, if you were searching in here, PubMed shows up right underneath the same database listings. There it is. It will show up in the library search when you do things like that first article we clicked on in Google Scholar. It was one of our options. Like it knew that in our library we had PubMed linked even. So these things all talk to each other too.
Good. All right. So that's database number 2. That's another MISFIT. Yeah. We are 138, of course, a MISFIT reference, but we're only on database number 2. We're only on database number 2, so I'm not sure if we're going to do 138 to marry the MISFIT song into this episode. But don't we have another one? Are we doing? Are we going to do Amazon.com and just take a look at it? Are we doing IMDb? What are we doing?
Go ahead and look at those.
Yeah, well, I know a lot of times what we talked about was Jason. You a lot of times reference Amazon, like the search, like Oh, if you use a database, Amazon's database, or when you're searching for, if you need shoes from Amazon, you can't just put in shoes.
Correct. Let's try it, Ross. Put in
Okay.
shoes. We have 3 different people here. We have 6 different feet. And so put in shoes, and let's scroll down, and let's see.
How many did we?
Well, my feet are very similar.
Is that your shoe? It's the first one I see under results. Is that what you wanted? Is that it? I'm seeing a lot of different colors, a lot of different shapes, a lot of different sizes.
A lot of men, women.
Yeah, I was going to say, last time I checked, men and women. So what am I noticing on the left-hand side of this database? Well, these are the filters, right? And so you're taking something very broad, a topic. So we have shoes in this example, and you can see on the video here where my hands are. And you want to use those filters just like you would do in a library database and start narrowing it down based on what? On your information needs. So let's go ahead and let's just play a little bit, Ross. What's our budget there? Let's take Morgan Tracy, the director of college libraries. Let's take his credit card and let's do 200 and above. Let's do 200 and above. Let's go wild. All right, so now we're at 211. Great. I want a popular brand, and
what do you like?
Yeah, let's go old school and do a Reebok. Let's go Reebok. Let's take it back. And you can see. Yeah, you can see a $200, but you're starting to see the results narrow. Yeah. Actually, I like those shoes if you go up in the middle. If you go back up, I want to get those.
Yeah.
Let's do it. No judgment here. Gender's dead. I could take women's shoes. That's fine. Let's do customer reviews. So again, I'm shrinking everything again based on my information need. This would be very similar, Ross, if we go back to Primo or the library page, the second tab there, and let's put in pollution. Now, again, what kind of pollution do I mean? I.e., what kind of shoe did I mean? I never said running shoe. I never said walking shoe. I never said tennis shoe. I never said flip-flop. Now, cut to the library databases and scholarly research. Same thing. So we put in pollution. And what do we have? What kind of pollution? Air pollution, water pollution, environmental pollution in general. And there's pollution, air pollution, my point. So again, I always use this scenario, and you want to narrow it all the way down. But here's the problem, my friends, and let me get granular here. When it gets too much, you might have to open it back up a little bit there. And I'm a former hand model, so this is a close-up of the way I used to make my money. Yeah, I know. So this, by the way, I need a royalty check here. But if it gets too close, you have to kind of open it back up. So do keep that in mind. And as you're pointing out here, the benefit of the library databases, just to sell some of our product here, is it breaks it down. Video, I see book, right? So I can know exactly what's going on. And you could choose the subject back there. Oh, that's fine. We can hop around. You could choose the subject too. So before, when we were looking at mainly a health information database, whether it was animal or human, you might want to pick something else. There may be something about pollution that may be not necessarily environmental, meaning what's the monetary cost? What's the economic cost of pollution, right? Where is pollution happening? That would be geography. And I saw physical geography on there.
Yeah, I saw that. Environmental geography.
But I just put in pollution. So again, you might not know. You might have a kind of a sense. Oh, say for instance, it's cancer. Say for instance, it's diabetes. Say for instance, it's depression. Now we start zooming in. And I just did a class a couple hours ago. I told him it's my favorite class. I'll tell the next one the same thing. You're always going to be getting a topic and then researching it. But I start very broad. And then I keep zooming in, and then I use a little room, but I always have a B and a C, meaning I always have a backup plan just in case, because as we know, research can be a little challenging sometimes. So we want to work on those muscles now at Seminole State College, but also when we plan on transferring to a four-year university. We want to jump in there at the junior level, ready to go. So that was Amazon. Let's do IMDb. We talked about it briefly before we got on the air, but let's try it a little bit here. And let's see, because this is, as Ross mentioned, databases in the title.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do anybody do you want to do it by movie or by we have the breakdown here by movie?
Yeah, we can even
actor, something like that, because let's just see
let's search by movie. Give me a movie.
Okay, Top Gun. Great.
See, it already knows what we're looking for here. Okay,
yeah, but good. Does it? Because this is the new one.
Oh, it's 1955.
Oh, interesting.
There was another.
So the research always comes to play. And look at that Top Gun. Look at that. A gunslinger returns to hometown to warn an impending outlaw gang of attack.
But just like any other database, this has the same things here. Like we could sort by cast if there was a particular actor we were interested in. We could go through and we could dig, with an advanced search in here, we could really get specific with what we need. But I guess the big takeaway for me in all this is that if you know how to do this on Amazon or Walmart's website, you can do the same things when you're doing research. I mean, it's the same process you're going through.
And I try to tell that to students as well. I mean, we don't want to reinvent the wheel here, but we do want to start shaving off some of that anxiety and start reducing some of that pressure. Because
what if we're afraid of blades and knives?
Blades
and
knives.
What if we don't want to shave off?
It's an electronic. Clearly, Ross and I don't know anything about shaving this. Okay, this is different, but this.
I was just thinking that people might want to get rid of some of the anxiety in other ways if they don't like.
Let's just eradicate it. Let's just eradicate it in general. Yes, eradicate the anxiety. Okay,
that works.
It's gone.
Understood. But you can play with this. Go to boxofficemojo.com. Boxofficemojo.com. So there's a lot of great websites where you can find out exactly what this would be for all of the money, right? The money. Nowadays, you can't make a movie and somebody says, "Oh, it only made $125 million." Big blockbuster flop. It's like, wait a minute. So you can take any of these. You could do Black Adam right on the top there, and then you can get The Rock, and then you can see what else The Rock has been in. Now, this is challenging for keywords. Nicole and Ross, two fellow librarians. Is it The Rock? Is it Dwayne Johnson? Is it Dwayne The Rock Johnson? I throw a challenge to you.
I don't think didn't he have to give up The Rock because he's no longer.
But for the purposes of our searching, older stories with The Rock can still come up. And Nicole, to my point, is that what I wanted? Is it what I wanted? Did I want Dwayne? So this really comes into our keywords. And that happens a lot of times too with actors. Say an actor married somebody. So they have their maiden name, then they take on the new name, then they get a divorce. Then they go back to their original name. So Courtney Cox Arquette is a primary library school example. Courtney Cox from Friends and Scream, then marries Arquette. Courtney Cox hyphen Arquette. And then she gets divorced, and now it's Courtney Cox again. Which one did you mean? And did you remember the hyphen? And did the hyphen matter? We're getting a little into library science territory.
It depends on the database, honestly, because you're searching, some will correct it for you. Like Google's a prime example. It'll kind of correct it and guess for you really good. But other databases, not so much. So
let's see, Ross. Who do we have? Is it Dwayne? Is it Dwayne Johnson? Dwayne The Rock?
Over here, they're linking me back to IMDb, actually. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that is that. Let's see if we go back there. We might have to go back, so we might have to use both of them. But let's see. That's pro.
No, it wants me to be a pro.
Oh, no pro. We don't want to pay.
Well, let's just go back and then look at The Rock. That's an interesting one. I'm curious.
Oh, thank you, Ross.
What happens if I search The Rock? Maybe the movie. See, you and I were talking about Dwayne Johnson.
And I was going to say, too, the Y in the name is different because Dwayne Wade, Miami Heat star, is spelled differently. It's DWYANE. And so you really have to use your noggin and your noodle and come up with the key search terms. And sometimes you could put it in there and yes, Google will go, I'm algorithms and the robots will find it. But it can really mess up your searches. It really can. So you have to. So what did it come up as? Dwayne Johnson? Scroll down to Nicole's point. Is there anything listed as The Rock, especially like WWF, which is now E? Any old things that he was in? Where is he?
It looks like they've just consolidated it all into his own entry now, but it knew that he was referred to as The Rock.
Yeah.
It knew that I might want to search that. So it's using that database logic still. It's connecting me with the stuff so I don't have to do it.
And I just saw one too. If you let's see what we got. Dwayne Douglas Johnson, his dad is a wrestler. I still don't see any. But if you go back, here's another good example, and I'm glad we're sticking on this. Can you hit back? Did I see Michael B. Jordan on the right? Did I see Black Panther Wakanda Forever? Scroll down a little bit on the right. Did it go away? Black Panther's a good one too. What do I mean? Do I mean the cat? Do I mean the state cat of Florida, or do I mean the movie? So this is where kind of you really can. And there was already a Black Panther in 2010. There was another one in 2014. And I don't think any of that has to do with the current, Marvel, giant enterprise that's going on now. So what's the other one? Panache. Okay, so that's it. You can go down the rabbit hole, Alice, with all of your research. And we just wanted to show you a couple of different MISFIT databases today. clearly we're from the library. We're librarians. We want you to use the library resources, but this can happen at any point in time. It really can. It can happen at any point in time. I say Casablanca. What do you think?
The movie?
White House.
No, I mean the actual location.
Exactly.
Wait, what did you say? The White House?
Well,
Oh,
because
Casablanca. Oh, look at Nicole. Look at Nicole. Good one. Good one. I love that. That's a great answer. So we all had three different answers. We all had three different answers. So keep that in mind. And I know we're actually we're looking at our topics now, and we're trying to start our research. Maybe some outlines are due, but I know tick tock, the clock is ticking, and we're coming up. We still have another month, right? A month and some change before we get to finals. But keep this in mind as you're doing your searches. And remember, wide, very, very broad, and then narrow it down based on what your information need. Check the assignment, look at the syllabus, have a conversation with your professor. Sound good? Sounds good. All right.
So, fellas, we lost 2 of our viewers.
But I'm technically logged in. How am I not a viewer? I'm technically logged in. How am I negative? This is
but
what? I'm a negative viewer?
But a bot joined us, and I had to block it because it was a bad bot.
Bad bot. Okay, great. And then one more.
Whatever comment was.
Oh, I do see that. Oh, okay, great. So maybe we could go in there and fix it because I do see it.
You got a friend. Okay, yeah, we'll go
in the YouTube. We do have library, and I did want to pitch once again. We do have our buttons. Where's your hat, Nicole?
Oh no, I don't have it. I don't have my button either today, but I have a shirt that says I am a librarian.
Oh, really? Come to the library and get the button. Oh, really?
Nicole, edit. We're out. Edit.
All right.
Bye. Edit.
Goodbye.
Bye.